By the way, my name is Strath. I have been in the solar and renewable energy industry for about 20 years. Uh, industry. I was working in home remodeling and home remodeling finance. The corporate, back in the day, I was a trainer. So I would come out and I would work with folks on how to address issues and focus more on the process than the profit. I'm one of those people who believes you do the job right, the money will take care of itself. So we're not a profit center based company. As a matter of fact, the way we work, we're actually different than probably 99% of the solar companies out there because we're a manufacturer's builder. So whenever new technology comes out, they bring our group out, we bring our engineers, we go out, we test it, we do the betas, we set everything up to make sure that it's something that's going to pass the CEC guidelines, that's the California Energy Commission, the Department of Energy guidelines, DOE, and then we go out and build, and we expanded, and over the last 3 or 4 years, we got to the point right now where it just made sense for us to do the building ourselves. So we work across a lot of industries. We are one of the very few, we're some of the CIAR builders, which means commercial, industrial, agricultural, and residential. Most people tend to either be residential or maybe commercial, maybe light industrial, and then some get into ag builds. So we actually work across all of it. We do the engineering, we do the audits, we're bringing in and work with several people within energy co-op in California. So we were brought up to the site, and one of the things that there's the sheet of paper, which may not make a whole lot of sense, but it's actually an Excel sheet that you will actually get, because I'm assuming that you either have or going to have other solar providers come in, because you don't want to go with one bid, you want to talk to the plant people. And what this will allow you to do is take the information, the production, the costs, the generation from each of these systems, and see how it pencils for you. Because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're getting the best value proposition. That's bang for your buck. That's probably the best way to cover it. So one of the things we wanted to do when we came out here, we did our first walkthrough, was identify what we call waste and loss. Because right now you've got expensive energy that you're paying for. And the people are thinking, okay, what can I do to change it? Let me get solar. Well, solar is a very good option, but there are other things you can do first. So, for example, when it comes to lighting and when it comes to heating and cooling, there are control units that you can bring into play, save you a ton of money. And what do? You guys leave the room, they turn the lights on. Or if you have lights that need to be on during the day, they can actually dim the lights so that the natural light is coming in, and the lights that are on are at a level so that you're not super bright at night and dim during the day. They actually make sure you're constant light throughout the day, but that lowers the amount of energy you use. Same thing with your, you guys don't have much of a problem with the heating and cooling because it's pretty consistent there. It's kind of a nice thing. By the way, if one need something, it's up to you, give me a call. So, one of the things you want to do though, when it does get cold, because it does get cold from time to time, having those controls definitely helps, because it'll help keep consistency with the temperature that you have. So some of the other things we were talking a little earlier, I'll go back into it, talking about dirty energy. Now, when you hear that term, in our industry, it has two very different meanings. Dirty can be, coal, oil-based, natural gas-based energy, which has a large carbon footprint. Dirty energy. But also, dirty energy refers to that wave that comes in that is sporadic, where there's loss of energy. So what we do is we work with capacitor technology, which allows us to capture that excess energy and push it back into the wave. So instead of having this aggressive wave that's coming in, and we're paying for energy that we never get to use, this capacitor is going to capture that, push it back into the valleys, soften out that wave, continue the same workload gets done, but you're using less energy to get it done. So at the end of the day, people, whether it's myself, whether it's other companies that come in, say you need a system this size. And it's generally where they stop the conversation. You're using this much energy, you need a system this size to offset it. you really need to know why you're using that energy. And you need to know if there are areas of waste and loss that you can take care of beforehand. Because if I can come in here and find areas, maybe I change to upgraded LEDs. Maybe I put in some controls. Maybe we put in motion sensors so that lights get turned off when you're not in the area. We do this, and all of a sudden, we start peeling back the amount of energy you're using before we do any big ticket items and upgrades. So we always look for those things. And then we know that when we were here before, there was concern with regards to if there was an outage, will we be able to have security lights? Will we be able to get the gates open? Will we be able to take care of people so they can get in and out? And people were asking about battery technology. Highly recommend it for your common area meters. There is we talked about it a little bit in there. It's a company called PalmQ. There are 3 big battery providers right now. Tesla, the name that everybody knows. You also have Enphase, which is a very low known when it comes to technology, especially micro inversion technology. They've now got into the battery world. And then, of course, there's a group called PalmQ. Really, really smart technology, super easy to work with, friendly. And the nice thing about the PalmQ batteries is it's less expensive than the Tesla and the Enphase. And for the same price, you're able to get a single unit that generates 20 kilowatts of power. I know that's almost talking out here in the ether. But by comparison to the Tesla does 11.1, the PalmQ does 19.5, and the Enphase does 10 point something. So you're something that's got twice the power density in about 80% of the space. So it's very smart technology. We like it. It's very easy to work with. It's very easy for an outside electrician to come in and work with, whereas the other ones are very proprietary. And you can't look under the hood of Tesla. You got to have a Tesla person come out and look at that. Whereas with the other 2 batteries, even Enphase is a little bit more friendly. Cost-wise, Enphase is the most expensive. Tesla is the second most expensive. Tesla's actually changed their battery technology significantly to fall in line with what everyone else is doing. And they've gotten a lot more market-friendly. PalmQ has gotten a lot more technology, ease of use, cost, and power density friendly. So that's why we've gone that direction. One of the advantages of doing what we do is we get to work with a lot of big players before everybody else does. And one of the things we've noticed about working with particular battery technology is that it's incredibly easy to work with. And instead of being a single lithium battery module, it actually has 8 inside it. And that's really good because if you ever have a situation where I'm sure you've all had some battery operated appliance that was supposed to last forever, and then the batteries just die. It can happen. Well, the nice thing about this type of technology is if one of those cells dies, you pull it out, replace it. It's all covered up with a warranty, so you never have to worry about having to pull out the entire unit like you would with the Generac unit, with the Tesla unit, with the former LG unit they pulled out. So I know that battery is of interest to you. We're going to get more into solar and talking about that part. But everything that we're going to do is going to be capacitor compliant and battery compliant, meaning we can add that on at any one time. And then, of course, if you want to address the other things like controls, these are all things that we can do. So when we identify the site, we know that all 4 of the buildings each have a principal common area meter, and they have a separate meter. So there are 8 total common area meters. So we addressed all 8. It doesn't make sense to do the 4 big ones and not address the small ones. They don't use a whole lot of energy. The regular household in this area uses about somewhere from a low of about 6,500 kilowatt hours a year to a high of about 13,000. So the closer you get to the beach, the heating and cooling don't use as much, so you tend to be towards that lower energy. Now, the smaller common area meters, they use about 5,000 kilowatt hours. So they're less than the average home. So if that was all you had for common area, it'd be questionable whether or not we would go and address them. But from an engineering standpoint and from putting the tech in for something that small, it could be, it'd be cost prohibitive. But because we're putting these bigger units in for each of the 4 buildings, it's easy to slave those on there. So the actual cost to do the small ones is next to nothing. Because you're putting in a little bit over 100 kilowatts across the 4 buildings. You eliminate all the costs that you would have had putting in small units because you're already putting the infrastructure in place. So because I know I have a habit of speaking up into the ether, if I got you on track, great. If I caused more questions than they had before I showed up, let me know so I can clear that up. And you are the politest friend I ever been in front of.
Well, I think Red, we did the study. We visited the site before. We thank you for that, for giving us the login. We got the data. We know how much you're using on a yearly basis on the common areas. What we're here for is to really give you what the design will look like and what system size we're going to need to be able to offset your usage. And I'm sure you're going to want to know how much it's going to cost you. What's available for you when it comes to acquisition. You have cash, we have other financing options that's available to you. And then at the end, I want to hear some questions from you, any concerns, and also want to hear, what can we do besides solar to help you push this project forward? I know we talked about the roofing because I remember the COA. Under the CA contract, the roofing has to be replaced a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So we have the option to be able to do that for you, also include that to the project. I want Ray to talk about a little bit about that. So one of that's our goal.
Yeah. So one of the advantages you have right now, because you need one of those clean energy upgrades, the state of California has a mandate. It's a guideline that people like me have to follow. It's called Title 24. Now, what Title 24 is, it identifies everything that is covered under Title 24. It qualifies for clean energy lending. So solar, battery storage, energy efficient roofing, windows and doors, insulation. There are hundreds of measures. There are hundreds of measures that fall within Title 24. So if you came in and said, Red, we're building a brand new structure and everything brand new, 60% of that is part of Title 24. So you can actually get specialized financing to help pay for that. When you do retrofits and upgrades, you can get specialized financing to pay for that. Now I know you guys are an association, and it'd be great if solar was the only thing that you had to deal with. But I have a funny feeling there's other things here that you deal with. I know you've got things like pool buildings were made in 1960, so you have standard maintenance, you have landscape care, you've got all kinds of things that you have to deal with. You get that. So one of the advantages of doing renewable upgrades is twofold. One, there's multiple other avenues of helping you get those costs paid for. Some in the case of incentives, some in the case of rebates, some in the case of tax credits. Now, when you're a COA or an HOA, you're classified nonprofit. So when it comes to that whole tax appetite component, you don't get the full advantages as you as individuals do. So if you as individuals were doing some of these upgrades to your own personal unit, you'd be able to take advantage of those tax credits because you pay taxes. So this is something that can go against them. We actually have investors who will come in and help nonprofits take advantage of it. So in other words, for every dollar you spend, they'll come in and discount it for you because they can take advantage of those carbon credits, of those tax credits. When you can't. So we're not just here to offer you a solution for getting clean energy that's going to be more efficient and less costly. We're also here to help you get you to the point where you can actually make that decision. Because right now, I've been on an HOA board before. I know you're sitting there and you've got a dozen things that you pay on the regular, and then you got a dozen more or new things that you have to figure out where are we going to put the money. So, if you guys have swimming pools full of catch and you want to go catch is king. But most of us don't. So one of the things you have to do is you have to prioritize what comes first. And what we can do to help out with that is put together with lending partners who can get you not only the job paid for, but discounted. I still get paid the dollar, but they'll come in and actually pay for a portion of it to take advantage of some of the things that we can't do. We've actually got several associations where the individuals living there will love to do. And they put together an LLC and they took advantage of the tax credits because they're substantial. So one of the things we want to do is want you to know that, if this is something that it is a priority, it's just figuring out how to pay for it. We can help you get through that. I do talk a lot, and if you don't want to stop me, I'll say hi to people.
You can control that. You can control that.
Man, no clue.
That's your slide.
Oh, really?
Yes, and then you can tell that.
Okay,
I know
so,
there's a lot of slides here and we don't have much time.
okay, so
So let's go through.
we went through the analysis of your bills and an average throughout the 4 buildings and the range of cost per kilowatt hour, which is a unit of measure for which you pay for every month, was ranging from a low of 36 cents to a high of 39. That's the data that we got from March of 2021 to February of 2022. So the actual, if we were to look at the numbers now, that'd be slightly higher than that, which is normal. There is a general increase on the residential side, so a little bit more on the commercial side, which is what this bill is. It's probably 3.5 to 4.5%. And then you'll notice slightly higher than that because that's the generation number. And then you're also hit on distribution and some of the other numbers there, which will bring that up a little bit more.
Yeah, that's
So,
because
so with regards to this, one of the things we wanted to address is what we were spending. So if we have time frame, you were spending 56,000.
where's this? Is that on the slide that you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Where is it at?
It's going to be, this
Okay.
is talking about them.
Okay.
Stuff that you can all go through later, and we'll actually get you a digital copy of this as well. Right here, this is, wow, it looks different.
So is it
what
because
this
of the
is
Mac
talking about-
format? Is it the
Yeah,
bigger
It's on that.
changed it. So in here, you do have, if you look at page 5 of this, and folks, if you're watching online, we apologize. We'll address any questions you have later. And we will get you a copy, a digital copy, so that you can look at this. So if you look at this in the upper right-hand corner on page 5, and it's going to be the page that says site assessment and protections, all 4 buildings. You'll notice there's an Edison icon and an Aria icon. And then it says meter 1, meter 2. The numbers in white are what keeps the buildings used during that time. The numbers to the right that are that light greenish, let's say PD1 and PD2 are what the new system is going to generate. So you're actually going to have some excess energy. This is beneficial for you, especially in the first 7 years, because when you go solar, you enter into what's known as a net metering agreement. And right now we're still on that 2.0. So what that means is instead of having to have battery storage for the excess energy to do, that digital meter that you have downstairs in these buildings counts.
It's right here. It's on bottom.
So now when you pull energy
Can I
from
do
the grid,
multiple?
you're pushing energy to the grid from the tower, and then you're still. It's a misnomer.
Basic
because
advance.
from the sun and then.
Oh, you gotta stop the sharing.
So the net metering agreement, it's a handshake between you and each other companies saying, okay, so we'll count everything that you produce. We'll count everything that you use. And at the end of the year, we'll look at the delta if there is one. And if you use.
So
more than
let's
you
stop the
produce,
sharing
we'll show you
first.
the
See.
differential. If you produce more than you use, then we'll pay you. Pay you as much as you pay us, but we'll pay you for that excess.
Multiple. There we go.
So
Multiple.
one of the reasons we design systems the way we do
Perfect.
is because when people go solar, we find that 7 to 10% more power is used because people are a little bit more comfortable with the energy. They don't feel so bad because the energy is cheaper and they know it's cleaner, so they tend to use things a little bit more. But we also do it so that we can offset what's known as a grid tie fee. So when you become part of that metering agreement, there's an amount of money that you still have to pay the utility provider for maintaining the grid. And then what we do is we develop a system that is within guideline, within spec, that allows us to make you some money from the power that we generate so that you don't have the grid tie fee, at least for the first seven or so years. Now, after that, you might start to see a small bill come in. And, I know that you were spending about $4,800 a month on electricity, the aggregate. You might see a bill at the end of the year for the entire year for maybe $700. So not too bad by comparison to the near 60,000 that you're spending it right on that. So one of the advantages to addressing all the meters as opposed to just the 4 main meters, we address all 8 and get offset everything, is we can take that 40-cent energy that you're spending right now, 40 cents per kilowatt hour, we can drop that down drastically. Now, if you pay cash, obviously it drops way down because you single price, you come in, you get done, you don't have to finance something and pay interest on it. But we don't see solar like a standard upgrade. So like, let's say for sake of argument, you have to replace the pool or you have to replace the windows and doors. That's an out-of-pocket expense on top of everything else that you're spending. What we can show you to do is take money that you're already spending. We don't want you to come with any new money. You don't have to reach into your coffers to get it, but you can take the money that you're spending with the utility company and say, hey, can we allocate all or some of this to pay for this? And that's where the benefit is when it comes to renewables with clean energy lending. If we bring you a partner, instead of you spending that $5,000 a month to pay for electricity, I know there's one partner right now that your monthly bill would drop below $3,000 and you would not pay for any of the upgrades. They would pay for all of it. There'd be no back pocket for you. And instead of spending $5,000 a month, you'd spend under $3,000. So that's the easiest thing. Now, for folks who deal with, like you do, you portion funds that you need to set aside for the various things you do, not only can we eliminate that concern by getting a partner to come in and finance this for you, but we also put more money back in your coffers because you're no longer spending the $5,000 a month. You now have an extra couple of $1,000s to put towards what you need to get done. So, and this is talking about what solar does for you. But one of the other advantages is that because the roofing that we recommended, was that? Okay.
Yeah.
We got 10 minutes.
I'll start a new session.
We'll get 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, 10 minutes over.
so essentially what we can do, just to help out with everything, I know roofing is a concern and it's a smart way when we're doing this type of work.
I have a Zoom account.
Oh, okay. So we have a way of burying the roofing with the solar. And because of the silicone technology, which is created by General Electric. So it's a name that we all know. It's one of the oldest companies in the United States. And unlike the roofing that you presently have, which comes with a 10-year warranty, this warranty is they'll come up here, they'll blast the roof, they will patch and repair all weak spots. They will then seal it in silicone. The silicone is an insulator and it's reflective coating. It'll turn the roof object light, which will create more light on the roof. It will reflect heat away from the structure, causing, if you are using fans or anything inside, you won't use it as much. That also decreases the amount of energy you use, so they do shrink your carbon footprint. But because of the type of roofing it is, because it's a reflective coating, it qualifies for the investment tax credit. So that brings us back to the investors that we talked about. That tax credit that you, as a nonprofit, really can't take advantage of. Whether it's you as a group who come together and take advantage of it, or an outside entity that comes in, they can do that, which decreases your cost for the system. So whether you're going to pay cash, whether you're going to finance something or not, we have found ways to lower the cost by having other people pay for what they can benefit, for what they can benefit from, and you can't. So there's a little bit of stuff to it. We can bring in a PACE provider who can train you on how that works. We can bring in a clean energy contract provider. They can explain how that works. There are a lot of different avenues besides traditional lending that you can work with. Now, if you have an affiliation with a credit union or bank that you guys like to work with, that maybe you get lines of credit from, they also offer clean energy lines of credit, which actually qualify for lower interest rates. And again, gives you the benefit of being able to get things done without hindering the other things that you need to get done. So,
Let's take a very short break when we swap over to Zoom to make sure that.
what it means is you own the space within from the paint and the carpet within, and you have a tax ID for that space, and then you are a shareholder in all the physical stuff.
I see.
So when it comes to trying to find someone from the lending standpoint, to say, okay, because every single person here agreed to get this, and does every single person, if they all agree, does every single person qualify? Yeah, so from your lender, and I've sat at every chair. I used to be a property manager, we developed this, I was the senior director for commercial pace for the wide range refund. I have been a builder, I have been a trainer, I've been doing this for a very long time. So I've sat at every chair at the table. I get this. So one of the problems with when you have a power owners association is that dual ownership, because it makes things very difficult. And there's always someone who's like, I don't want to. And that's it. Nothing else.
All again?
Yeah, all of them with certain lenders. You know, there are other lenders who actually work with the association. If the association has been deemed to have signatory capacity, then they can do it. There are 4 different types of homeowners associations and condo owners associations. And depending on which one you fall into, the majority of them have everyone has to vote. Now, there's 2 versions of that. Everyone has to vote. There's one where you have a 3/4 majority rule, which allows the association to move forward. The other one is 100%, all or nothing. And the other 2 are slightly different. You don't see that much out here in California. But they're all problematic.
Yeah.
Very rarely do you have one. I think when we were here, we were talking about that was for the individual units, and whether or not we could do them together with this. And with a clean energy lender, they're not going to touch anything that is within dual ownership because it's just too difficult. However, we did find, and I will get this sent to whoever else I have. There is actually a new, very user-friendly in-home battery unit. Very affordable, very affordable. And what it does is you bring it in, and if that's the first plug-in circuit, you plug in and energize the beyond it. So if you don't like anything like that, you can bring it in, and they range in size from as little as 2.5 kW, which is about 30 minutes of energy, all the way up. You can just keep going. So if it's intermittent use, you can get like a 5 kW unit in there, it's got this big, and you know, if you want to go to the beach and take it with you, it's got wheels, bolts, and stuff. Yeah, radio, and do everything along the family. They're really fucking this. The lithium ferrous batteries have gotten really efficient, a little bit heavy, but they're really efficient and really cost effective. So for me, as a guy who does this, I would not recommend having me come in and bring, you know, 100 units. And if the one goes like the folks you want, it's probably more cost effective to get this one over and have me actually install it anytime.
Yeah.
So one of the things we want to focus on page 5 of that, we talk about the generation. Given it's not part of this, it talks about site protections. We look at the energy network and generatability with the system that we've designed here, which is going to cover the excess, and it's also going to cover the excess expenses from the utility company for the minimum for 7 years, unless your energy profile changes. But because it's all solid state technology, the advantages we can always add on to it. So, you know, if all of a sudden you have a bunch of car charger units down here and you want to cover that, once you put that in, you've got more than enough space here to cover. If everyone had 2 electric cars, you still wouldn't touch half the surface area that's available to us. So, food for thought. I'm on my 3rd electric car. They're a lot of fun. Also, you could hear people when you're talking. So, it's a good thing to have. You know,
Yes, so I think we should go over each building. And this is a good slide. So if you can use this, if you can pull up this file here. This is the most important slide in this PowerPoint, technically. And I'm sure this is what you want to know, right? Over here, right? There's 4 buildings, 635, 639, 645, 649. Okay, you see where it says meter 1 and meter 2? We collected your annual usage on each buildings. Meter 1 has 55,249 kilowatt hour. Meter 2 is 4,363. So when we design this unit, we're gonna put in a 38.88 kilowatt size system, okay? And you're gonna see the design later on. You're gonna see how many panels those are, right? And our first, we're gonna produce 56,282 and 4,610. What does it mean? That means we can cover your usage for that building, right? Now, you can go on and on and on from one building to another, 635, 639, 645, 649, right? So I was talking to Red about this, and Red did a good job on designing it, and we can actually cover the 100%. What's our offset for the 4 buildings?
Not only have we mentioned that, but we
Yeah.
also go a little bit over. So again, to cover, whether you're believing or not, that's getting honored, it is. So energy is going to change. But we also set it up so that if you did go the car charger route, if you did want to get a battery, if you did want to go to capacitor, we also size the system so that we could plug those right in, and you wouldn't see energy losses. You just see the gains from doing that. I'm sure batteries will be another conversation to tell you about. There are actually 3 programs out there right now that help pay for it and also pay for having, which is they call demand response, where utility companies need power and they can't get access to it. So they need to go out to people who have battery storage or reciprocal engines that generate natural gas. Then they pull the power from it. So that's again. So one of the things I want to touch on, what we're happening as far as technology. We have chosen this site as a data site. So the technology you're getting here, no commercial jobs like that. We're doing dual channel microinversion on the site. That means that every 2 panels are their own array. Commercial sites, they tend to have anywhere from 7 to 27 modules in a string. And if one of them goes down, all of them go down.
Yeah.
So the advantage of microinversion technologies, we eliminate that.
Yeah.
Blue Jimmy's kite goes up there, you get a ton of bird strike on a panel. Only that panel's going to be impacted. Microinversion technology says, you've got 325 panels up there, and if one of them is down, only one of them is down. Whereas the string theory technology, everything in that string goes down. So losses are significant. Now, the reason why this is important is because when you mitigate those, it's happening, bird strike, it's a daily thing. These are, they can impact an entire string. And if you've seen what some of the birds out here do, pelicans specifically, do a lot. So I know this question comes to me all the time. How do we clean these things? There is, if you have maintenance people here, you can actually train them how to do it. It's not hard. Again, it's solid state material, so you don't have to worry about moving parts being messed with. We can show them how to do that. If you don't, there are services that will come out here, and it depends on what they find. So you have a disadvantage and an advantage being where you are right now. So when an installer provider goes in and designs a system for you, they have to take into account the topography, the geology, and things like marine layer. Because the amount of sun that you get is different than just wild inland.
Yes.
You get less. So when you design a system, so one of the things you do, I want you, when you, I'm assuming there's going to be 2, 3, 4 more folks you're going to meet with, or maybe you have met with. What I want you to do is to take a look at those systems and see what sizes they proposed as an offset.
So I made a spreadsheet for that.
What? That's that's something you want to have.
Yeah.
Just for your own application, you have to look at it. You'll see there should be a line of continuity between us. Every now and then you'll have someone who is stepping into the larger systems, and they think like a residential installer. And that person may undersize the system because they're not aware of marine layer. They don't take all these other things into effect that we do, wider size, all of these things. But generally, you're going to find continuity throughout. There will be little discrepancies. But one of the things you want to pay very close attention to is the cost. Because at the end of the day, we can all show you, we can all say, hey, listen, it's going to be exactly 100 kilowatts. Mine's slightly bigger than that. And you can go and go, okay, they all said the same thing. I don't know, the red guy like his beard, but then the French white guy, you think nice accent. So let's go with it. And then you find out the cost will cost, 30% more than the guy with the bad beard does. So you really want to look at the technology, the type of technology you get, and also the warranties. This is what I show you. See, I know what the industry is selling stuff for. You'll find that out once you compare me with other people and you realize that my pricing can't be touched. But this is what I've shown, the technologies and the warranties. To me, the warranty is very important. Only important. You heard me talking about roofing. When we work with roofing, we work with companies like Owens Corning, General Electric, There's a lot of people who bring in stuff for you and say, yeah, there's a 10-year warranty on it, if the company's still in business. So for me, when it comes to roofing, because I know this is something we are already talking about, when it comes to roofing, I won't touch a project with less than a 20-year warranty. I won't. For a residential project, I won't touch for less than a 50-year warranty. If I'm doing someone's house, it's being done right. Unless they tell me, I got to have that Spanish tile. I just got it. And I said, listen, there's 3 things that look exactly like it. They're efficient, and you're going to be warranty on this. No, I got to play time. Well, okay, that's we'll get you to somebody else. But we make sure we get a minimum of 20-year guarantee. General Electric stands behind this product. And I'm not saying anything else. General Electric is all insurance and assurance company. If you know the difference, all insurance companies that put money up for whatever it is that we get insurance for, there's another company called that assurance company that actually funds them and protects them from losing too much money in case of a natural disaster or a large scale claims on insurance. So they have their own all in-house, they protect everything. So one of the things we want to do is we want to make sure that one, we address your energy need so that there's never, the workload, as we call it, doesn't change. You guys can come live your life like nothing has changed. The only thing that's different is that what you're spending every month until the company's going to be long lasting. Whether you finance it, whether you pay cash for it, no matter what, the value proposition of what we're doing is going to lower your costs. Very important to know. And if it is something where you don't want to allocate accordingly, which you personally have, and you want someone to come in and help you with this, we have partners who can come in and do that for you. You have partners. You guys already work with banks. Trust me, when we go in and say, listen, we're doing clean energy upgrade, you're doing solar, we're getting battery storage, you want to do reflection coating on the roofs, you guys help us out? Absolutely. It's the largest expanding market. I don't know if you're interested in this other market, if you're looking to invest, but the cannabis industry also a very big industry, just like me. So,
Brett, sorry to interrupt. So on this page, right, not only tells you what the system size is, it also tells you the warranty that comes with it. And it's pretty standard for a solar company to have, 25 years bumper to bumper warranty. Okay, okay.
What our industry has is manufacturing warranties. So you notice most people will come out and say we've got a 1, 5, 10-year workmanship warranty. Generally 22 years, and then they have a 25-year on the module. That's not from them. That's from the manufacturer of the module. So when it comes to warranties, and this is one of the first things where we shine, we do 10 years of workmanship. That means you guys notice a leak or anything like that that's up on the roof. Within 10 years of the install, you call us, we come and fix it, no questions. No concerns. But we work with manufacturers, because we're manufacturers builders, so we give you a 25-year guarantee on the module with the manufacturer. We give you a 25-year guarantee on the inversion technology with the manufacturer. We give you a 25-year warranty on the racking system with the manufacturer, we give you a 30-year production guarantee on the system.
That's the one. That's a big difference. I think if there's anything else, that's a big difference.
Because for 30 years, we're telling you, that system, 30 years in one day from right now, if I install it, 30 years in one day, that system will still be producing over 86% of what it was producing in day one. There is no company that touched that tech. So when people come out with the numbers in the 70s, the low 80s, and I'm Irish, I'm an expression. They're so full of years around because it's just not true. So the advantages you get with the microversion technology is the offsets that happen when birds strike, when Jimmy's kite, when the baseball hits a panel. You don't run into that dust because our tech, first of all, within 15 minutes of something like that happening, you know it, we know it. A lot of the system kicks up and says, listen, panel 137 is way out of spec. And then we can have something roll out here. When they come out, they bring a panel, they bring a microinverter, they replace them, they wait 15 minutes to see that everything's back in spec, and then they leave. And then we find out later at the shop what was wrong with those units. We don't bother you with that, and it's all covered. So that is what's known as a bumper to bumper. When you have someone read off 6 warranties to you. Now, when the other folks come out and to make sure that they're covering all that and hold them to it, because in our industry, when you buy from a supplier, you buy a panel or you buy a board, they ask you which warranty you want. Do you want no warranty? Do you want the 10-year? Or do you want the big one? Because that changes the cost of the piece of equipment that they're buying. So you gotta be very careful with that. Again, for me, it's the value proposition is this. I want to give you the best possible thing you can get, best bang for your buck. Because this is what I know is gonna happen. If I do this for you, you guys decide to go with us and you get past my beard, you go with the technology, and we get in there and we save you money. You know what you're going to do? You're going to tell other people about us. 86% of the business that I get is from referral. 86%. So that's what we want. I take care of you, you guys will take care of me, and that's just, that's karma. So what we can do for you is something that is very easy as far as the financial side is concerned. We can have someone come in, help you out, and have you going from spending $5,000 a month to less than $3,000. Actually, one of the things that I saw for based on the numbers was $2,400 down from $4,900. So, I mean, you're saving more than you're spending. So that's all very nice. So, if that's something that your finance department or someone wants to chat with us. And I know there's, I know when we were here last time, you said there were some, like maybe some other issues. And I know there was my person. She also talking about the electrical. There are things that you have that are within Title 24. You may not realize that we can get addressed, and you won't have to kind of, you don't have to reach into your liquidity to take care of those things. We can show you how to get that down by another business money. So,
yeah, actually, since you're talking about that, one thing that we're talking about that for the meeting over here is the electrical panels. I mean, you've seen the electrical panels, electrical panels, and it's like, is that something that's under Title 24? Is that something that we can get upgraded? And
so yes. We actually, I think me, we did talk about this one bit. The panels that you have, are they old school? Yes. But they're commercial panels. It's large gauge, original power, not the cheap stuff we get today. So if there was an issue, 2 groups would be fire department first. Fire department checks. And if they have a concern, they're going to be the ones that are going to turn around after they do their inspection and go to the utility company and say, hey, 635 through 649, you've got to address those power panels. Now, when you're buying the ocean, the casing, you really do need to treat those on the right. You need to have someone come in every 2 years, sand them down, reprime them, repaint them to protect them. And then you do have to periodically go in to the bus bar and actually change out the breaker sets you have in there. You can update those, but you don't need to gut this whole system. And that's a lot of people, they think that's what they have to do. You don't. There are ways of upgrading. It's a standard update that you can do from the refresher. You don't, you've got to get taken care of. Easy. It's not cheap by the standard. When someone may come in, each box may cost you anywhere from 18 to 30 grand to have that done. But to have them come in and actually yank everything out, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Very expensive.
Yeah, really expensive. You don't. This is old school good stuff. This is good wire. This is good conduit. And realistically, you could have someone come in and just do a refresher with just like sanding everything down, priming, painting, and then upgrading some of the breaker circuits, and just making sure that the connectors are all clean. And that's simple.
I think the main concern, I don't know if this is the question then, is the electrical panel can handle the system that you're gonna put in as far as solar goes? The answer is yes, I know that. Yeah. So the capacity of your electrical panel would be able to handle the system size that we're gonna put in.
For the biggest concerns that you should have whenever you entertain this concept. Okay, one is what they're doing for us is the value proposition really that helps. Is it there? In other words, are they going to offset the energy that we need? Are they going to do what we need there? But put that aside for a second, because that's no brainer. Anyone else wants solar, they don't want solar, actually it's cheaper energy at work. That's a given. The other two are the important ones. Okay. When I go up on your roof and I put in all of this gear, all right, there's wind, right? You got an older building. You want to make sure that the structure can withstand it. So this is what's known as a D-rated zone. So when you put in racking, you can't do, they have what we're called ballasted, semi-ballasted, and anchored systems. So when you go on a flat roof, you can do, if I'm allowed that, I can do what's called a ballasted system, where I can literally put it down like a chair, like this, on the roof, and then if there's a little hole there, I can go back to hold it down. That's all I'm gonna do. But this is a Class D rated building. We have to anchor. And you want to anchor. You guys get wind here, you get microbursts. You don't want a ray dancing on the roof. So you have to do that. So for structural integrity, we have to do full engineering on the building to make sure that that can handle 135-mile downforce. Now the spec for this area is only 98 miles. We designed to 135. The spec for this area says you have to have no more than 12 pounds of pressure per square foot on that roof. We come in under 4. So we're very, very careful about how we do that. So it's great. Talk to 1, a dozen companies, find the right one for you, but make sure that they pay very close attention to that very important part of structural integrity. And then, of course, whether or not the site can actually handle solar. Other homes that are built for the 60s, I don't know if you folks are from Southern California. I moved out here about 32 years ago. And I worked on a home down in Alcohol. And I went down there, and while I was having a conversation, an old part, a very, very old part of Alcohol, there was a noticeable buzz, and I thought there was like a bee's nest outside the window. It wasn't, it was the electrical panel buzzing. And we went out to the electrical panel, opened it up. The second I saw it, there was the 10-penny nail with copper wire in the fuse connection. It was fused. And once it was put in, it was fused. And then they had another, this is one of the first electrical boxes that was still on the house. I, by law, have to do this. Get to a phone, call the fire department, call the utility, call the city to shut it down. I have no choice. I can't say, listen, talk to someone else. I use my license if they find out that I saw that it didn't work. So the reason I point this out is not to walk down every lane. It's to let you know that I went in there and looked at those panels. I looked at every single one in every single building, except that one. We paid very close attention to what we saw. Now, yes, they need to be sanded down. They need to be primed and painted. You do need to do that every 2 to 3 years. It needs to be done. You do need to have a refresher. But that's simple, that's easy stuff. Any electrician, put their song, come in and upgrade your breakers, make sure the connections are clean, not corroded, because the proximity gets a lot more, and can sand and prime and paint those boxes. So you do not need to upgrade them. Unless there's something specific about that box from the 1960s that the utility company is aware of, but if they were, they would come to you already, because they do have to give you a significant amount of time to make those changes. Because if you have to yank everything out, that's a big ordeal. They actually have to bring their tractor trailer show up with these energy generation units that get parked at your site. And when they take one offline and it's offline for 2 or 3 hours, they can't put it back on. Those units don't get plugged in and they energize the whatever that was attached to. So you want to make sure that, again, the site can handle what you're doing, your site can. The structure can handle the weight and microburst and downforce that happens in having a flat glass surface on undulating. What a lot of people don't understand about roofs in Southern California is these structures are built to move, not built to be stuck. So if you ever look at a roof of someone's house and just stare at it for a minute, all of a sudden you'll notice that it's not a flat pitch, there's an undulation. That's because that's what your house is built. That's the way these structures are built. And if you go up and make one of these roofs and actually stare at it, once you get used to it as a block, you're always there are undulations to your walls. So what I would recommend, and I'm going to close out with the number and say, you guys have been great. I'm sitting just to bring about some questions. What we're talking about doing is giving you something that will reallocate the money put it towards upgrade that will equalize and give clean energy. If we simply look at it from the standpoint of ROI, versus the cost, actually last year's cost versus the cost of the system, you're looking at an ROI of the industry standard is 7 to 11 years worth of 5.2. So that's significant. But if you take advantage of our partners helping you financing, your ROI is not 11 years, it's not 9 years, it's not 7, it's not 5. It's the day I turn the system on. Because the money you were spending, which was about $5,000 a month, drops down to below 3. So you are profitable the day I turn it on.
And that's no money out of pocket,
Zero money out of pocket.
right? So basically, it's a bill swap, right? Instead of paying Edison, you're paying for your, paying for your electricity through the solar, right? With no money out of pocket. You're just basically switching. Instead of paying Edison, you'd be paying for the solar production.
We got our own products since the original fixed set of financing angles, and a number of years ago, we pitched what's known as a lease product for a church because there's no tax there. But when a couple of weeks came in, who you probably don't know who he is because 2 years later he was busting into my home for Ozzy ski. He had a huge steps up, so I just thought it was so fun. But anyway, he came in and actually formed an LLC, and that's become very common. So what we see a lot of times, if you have people of significant needs who live here and they have tax appetite, what they can do is they can form an LLC and call Cote or LLC, and they can take advantage of the tax appetite should they want. So you have a lot of options.
Yeah.
So we can help you. We can bring people in. You can bring your people in. We have a company that's a prepaid PPA provider. And what they can do is give you discounted energy. And
Well, that's a good segue already. I want you to pull up this file here. This tells you the cost of the system per building, right? For example, building 635 for a system size of 38.8 kilowatt. I'm not going to bore you to technical jargons about kilowatt.
well, if we have 635, I'm sure probably touching it.
Right.
635 is very different than 3 because 635 houses all the tenants,
Uh-huh.
clubhouse, and the pool.
Right, this is common area only. I think we're only doing common area then. Am I correct then? We're only
Yeah.
doing common area.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the meters that we put in here is only for common areas.
Yes, the common area of each
Mhm.
building has 2 meters,
Right.
but 635,
Mm-hmm,
that's common area for the building,
mm-hmm,
for this,
mm-hmm.
and for the pool. So it's
Absolutely.
twice, that's twice the energy per hour than again.
Correct. So for that building, the cost of the system is 119,750, with an annual production of 60,892 kilowatt hour. But basically it tells you each building how much this system cost gonna be. So roughly for the 4 buildings is $312,000, right? So if you take that number, that amount, okay, and you divide it by the annual kilowatt hour size, which is 159,742 kilowatt hour, it will tell you what the price, I'm sorry, for what?
So
For what? 101,520 watts. It's gonna tell you the price per watt,
one,
right?
the system size, which is the collective size is 101.5
Mhm,
kilowatts.
mhm.
If you take the cost of the system
Divided by,
and divide by the size of the system, so in this case, it would be 312.
312,681 divided by the number of watts.
101.
520.
120.
Mhm.
You would get the cost of the watt to install. Now, if you take the production of the system, so this is a very common number, that's million. You have to take the aggregate production of the system, which we give you there, the kilowatt hours. You basically do that over 20 years, using up a 30-year system. And then you take all of those kilowatt hours that we produced over the course of 20 years, and then you divide it into the cost of the system. And it tells you what you're paying per kilowatt hour as an aggregate. If you pay cash. Now, obviously, if you lend, you have to borrow money, you're paying interest on that, that would change that a little bit.
Right.
And that piece of paper is a visual, but there's an actual Excel spreadsheet. What we have to do is type in the numbers that we see, and it will calculate everything for you.
Right.
So we're going to get a digital version of, there's a couple things about this proposal I don't like, that's my fault, not Alex's. But I want to kind of update and clean up a little bit, but we'll send it over to you, and then we'll also send you the Excel sheet. So that once you review the other folks, you can plug in everyone's numbers, their generation numbers, their costs, and everything. You can see what you're getting. And also, one of the things that it's probably not there, we might want to add are the warranties, because those are only.
Right. Another thing I really want to hone in to the concept of you're a COA, right? So you're not entitled for the tax credit of the solar because you're a nonprofit, right? So what's going to happen is we can have an investor come in, right? You pay 87% of this number, right? And the other percent that remaining will be paid by the investor, right? So there's many ways you can choose that way. If you want to pay cash, you can lower it, right?
There are rebates that you can get for doing things like battery storage. There are other incentives that you get from utility companies for doing energy efficient upgrades. So there are different ways that we can help pay for the system. So what we want to do is we want to achieve a position where, you don't have to put up this one anymore. It's again, liquidity is everything. You guys have to be positions higher complex about how we spend money that you have, that you gain from your HRAs. What we're saying to you is, listen, you're spending on your but let's check out a little more efficient. Let's take the clear that's being.
You're paying now. Yep.
Yeah, that way. One San Diego, I made a joke about San Diego, but what is that? You stand for San Diego Planning Solution. Up here, the city is not that much better. So one of the things we want to do is we want to show you a way to take money that you are spending. Not money that you have sitting in the bank, money that you are spending every single month. Put it towards these upgrades. So that one, you increase the value of the property. It's not only important. I put all this work in there. He said, Red, we got it. Don't do it. And I go in and fix it. The property value is going to go up significantly. No joke. So property value increase, good for you, right? You can't complain about that. All right, and what are we doing? We're giving you back control of your money. You were spending a lot, I spend less. It's a good thing. Please forgive me. And it's the middle finger that whistles out like this, but you're basically dictating to the utility company how much money they're no longer going to be taking from it. Seems appropriate. I don't know what they can. The rent, the family fee. This allows you guys to feel more comfortable in your own home. You almost sleep in your own home because you don't always have to stop yourself during on the fan. You don't have to stop yourself during on heat because now you have more efficient clean energy which costs less. Okay, and most important thing, the one thing I swear is the fact that we can show you how to pay for this without having a pocket penny. As a matter of fact, the day after you turn the system on, you'll have more money in your pocket, in your coffers than you did the day before we showed up.
That's the most important thing.
So the question,
That's
Yeah.
on this page, can you walk me through just the first line, it's 3, 5,
If you take a look, I'll actually
119,000
see this for the first time.
is the cost.
All right, so each building, so it breaks it down the line items at the building 635, right?
So the cost is 119,000, system size is going to be kilowatt.
That's correct.
That's correct.
And then the size of watt, same amount. I won't understand the end, what's the 60,000?
That's kilowatt, that's what it's generating. So that system over the course of 365 and a quarter days of the year is going to generate an aggregate of this. The first 7 years is going to produce a lot more than that. But what you do is we design systems to say, hey, listen, we know that in the last 7 years, we're not creating as much. So we design a system that is going to produce more energy so that on the front end, you're going to make some money from the utility company.
So the cost is $3.08 per kilowatt.
For installation of that, of that watt.
For what?
2 units.
Mhm.
You have the watt. So we talk about what is the kilowatt system. That is the unit of power. Okay?
Right.
Kilowatt hour is the unit of time. So a kilowatt hour, and this is a lot of people confuse over this. I did for a long time. A kilowatt hour is basically the amount of energy that you needed to get something done for 1 hour. So how many lights and bulbs, how many kilowatts or watts did you need for 1 hour to make that happen? So what we're saying is that system every year aggregate is going to produce over 60,000 kilowatt hours. Now, based on your empirical data we got from that March of 2021 to February 2022, you used 59,674. The one person 56,900.
Something like that. So it's right here. It's 59,612 is your usage for building 635.
Okay, so we built a system that's going to cover that and stuff. And that's the point of that. But when you look at this this sheet, and when you get the Excel spreadsheet, like I said, by all means, use it as a tool. You know, maybe you want to be comfortable, but it'll help you. And we'll add a couple of things in here that make more sense.
So on page 5 also, the 635 building,
Mhm.
you know, meter 1, meter 2, PB1, PB2. I didn't quite understand this.
Okay, so meter 1 is the principal meter.
Okay.
And then meter 2 is the one that handles the parking garage and some of the lights. Existing, right? So meter 1, meter 2 is the production that your system are utilizing in that year period. Okay. PB1, photovoltaics, solar. That's what's going to offset meter 1. And PB2, my apologies for not clarifying that. Right? PB2 will offset meter 2.
Got it. Down at the bottom where you say manufacturer inversion warranty, conversion.
Inversion. So battery power and solar power are directional. The grid is alternating current. So in order to take the direct current and put it into the grid, you actually convert it to alternating current. So the technology is one of the really cool things. I don't know what you can ask, but essentially what happens is you need power to convert this power into alternating current. So you have to create a system that is slightly larger DC because AC generation is going to be less. You know, it's kind of confusing. But alternating current is not consistent. Direct current is just 1.5. It's 1.5. Alternating current 1.5 can be 1.8. It can be 0.6. Right, it averages out 1.5 or thereabouts. So, but that's what our grid is. Use alternative current. Now to get a little, the technology that we use, general effects in our industry, when we take the energy from DC to AC, it takes energy to invert the energy. So we lose some. So we have those degradation losses. So as an industry standard, you're going to hear people talk about, we're at 9%, which is good. We're at 10, which is normal. We're as much as 12, it's a little bit high. And then you have soil and things like that that can actually cause the production of the panel to be less. A dirty panel doesn't produce as much as a clean panel. But the technology that we'll bring to you guys, manufacturer we built for, said, listen, we want a bigger system. It's something we usually do on small applications. We want to do a bigger system with our microversion technology. So we just did 7 or 8 installs over the last 6 weeks with this new tech, the tech that we're bringing to you, tech which cost a lot more than the original tech, but the manufacturer wants it in. So you're getting it at like 60 cents on the dollar, which is awesome. Again, I will find ways to help pay for your system. But what's important about the microversion technology is that we don't see 14, 12, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6% losses. You see 3 or 4, which is ridiculous in our industry. We're 300% better than the next guy. So what that means is that for every panel you see out there, for every square inch of the photovoltaic you see in the roof, it's generating more power than the other guys. If someone uses my panels, same panels, but their version, my parent, an inverter and panel, because they were made for each other, literally the same manufacturer made for each other, work so well together that we oftentimes during the day, the panels, like for example, a 360 watt panel, generally with inversion will produce in the middle of summer 330 watts, 320 watts, because there's loss. We actually have a parent during the high time day where not 360, we're producing 375, 380, which in our industry makes no sense. But that's what happens when you have, if you have the microinverters right there, paired to the panel, you don't have to chase a long line of power where you're you're chasing a long line of power where energy can be lost. And then you're going into an inverter where you're using energy in order to convert it to alternative current. And then going down into the system, there's no losses, everything is centralized.
So in other words, each panel will work independently.
Yes.
Right? So the essence of microinverter is really real simple. It just converts DC, direct current, because the solar panels, when it hits the sun, when the sun hits the solar panels, produces DC, direct current. It converts it to AC. That's what we use on our electrical sockets to be usable like electricity. That's all it does, basically. Yeah. Yeah. I just want to keep it simple.
It's not important.
You do one instant, and especially if you're bringing there, so solar earlier, it's hit and miss for bringing there, you don't produce as much energy, something not that in, but because of the pressures you get, like where I'm at, we get a lot of triangle. Because what happens is that's the things that go beyond there early on, and then sun takes it on the stream. So I have my panels 2-3 times a year. But you guys have moisture out here. One nice thing about being moisture is that nice on that stuff up. So you probably need something maybe once every 9 months.
That's something you do, or we hire.
We offer, or we can actually train, because a lot of this actually have one. This is
So it's not part of the warranty.
no, not for the warranty. Warranty is for production.
So the panels left 25 plus years, 30 years, you make panels. How long have you been in business?
The parent company, we're owned by a company called Strath DMI, and Aria, it's part of this is what we're building teams. So Strath DMI, our BDMI has been around for about 11 years. The founders are from, one of the founders is the number 4 engineer for, I always say Microsoft, it's not Microsoft, it's the chip builder. Intel factory. She is the number 4 of the thousands they have. She's the top. Her husband is a micro. He worked with subsystems, microsystems,
Microsun systems.
yeah.
I'm trying to get it. It's big Taiwan. And it's the entire group that also small engineers. And they're working with the groups around the industry for approximately 25 years. The company itself is, the name Aria is 2.5 years. Aptos, the manufacturer, is about 7 years. So the city of Torrance would approve the permit and then start making your work, right?
Yeah, so we have to go to the city to say, hey, listen, we have a project located at this address.
Right.
This is the size that we're recommending. This is we give them the profile. Basically, with a very similar formula we give you, a little more concise. And they go, okay, all right, you need to do engineering. So then we'll go out, we'll have engineering done and make sure that this structure is capable of holding it. And then they'll have us do the wire test, all part of this, get it done. Then say, okay, you're ready to go.
Then Southern California is either final yes or no before you turn it on. Right? So you
It
have-
was called this PTO, permission to operate.
Right.
So what happens is we go in, they, they know that we're going to build a system, nothing else can happen. There's going to be what they call a disco reco, which is to disconnect, reconnect, where we actually turn power off so that we can gauge everything and get ready to energize the system. We do a test, we show the system works, and we turn it off. Then you're back to doing what you're doing before. And then they go through the real paperwork and they do take it for the time. And then they approve it. Yes, ma'am.
Does your installation affect our new reform, existing reform?
Okay. If we build on the existing roof, your roof is actually not in shape. So it's borderline of us being able to build on it. But if this is a consideration you have, this is the ideal time to get rid of that. It is. Have us come in. We're going to be up there working on this. Have us come in. We'll blast the thing off. So I'll try to patch it up there to make sure that everything, the integrity is there. And this will probably cost you full system. We can do all that. And then we're going to steel with silicone. And then instead of the 10-year warranty, you have a 20-year warranty from GE. Now that's not, the roofing is not part of this quote. It was strictly for PV. The recommendations, there's two packages. You got this one, talks about battery, talks about roofing, talks about capacitors, kind of gives you some insight. I know for you, I did this for you, by the way, because I know how your mind works. You and I had fun when I was here last time. So I want you to see some of the formulas and stuff that's in that bigger packet. So you'll see how the capacitor technology works, and it talks a little bit about the batteries. And then I'll look for something else together for you guys. If you're like me, I geek out on this stuff. You can go into it if you want.
Yeah.
One other question. This right where people who, customers who have solar, creating, of course, a discount on electricity. And electric companies now want to charge you a tax. I don't know if that's the correct word, because you're paying less money. Because you get a green time fee. Because your neighbor doesn't have to pay out. What's that called?
It's called a green time fee. So once you go solar, you have to pay a maintenance fee. Now, the big three, PG&E, San Diego, Breakfast, Source, and Star, you're not going to call them. I just did. And then SCE, where you guys are at. They've been trying to get this net metering 3.0 passed. They've failed 3 times so far. It is brutal what they're trying to do. They're trying to get rid of the solar light. And they failed, and I'm actually surprised this governor didn't fold under the weight of the utility company. But he didn't, they failed, so they're trying to push things through on these additional taxes and things of that nature. These are things that you should be aware of, and you should get pissed about, to be honest, because the energy that you buy from the utility company, meaning the natural gas, predominantly natural gas, still some coal, still some sewage, and they do use renewables. The dirty energy is such about 67% of power that's generated. The remaining third actually comes from energy options. But that energy costs them 3 times as much to create than the energy they get from those cheap on solar. So they're getting energy from 1/3 of the cost, what it would cost them to create it, and they're turning around and selling it to the neighbor who doesn't have some of it. So that's
midstream price, and then you get another thing on top. So the reason I say we should exist is we are coming to a time, this is going to happen in the next 18 months. You are going to have to make your voice heard. What's happening in the next 6 months is then 3.0. They can't make all horrible stuff, and each time they go back, they shut it down. It's a bill that we're going to end up, and they will get it, is going to be very difficult for people to swallow. So I don't want to stop. This is something you can look up yourself. Net metering 3.0. Find out the threat that it causes to all of us. But if you are going to make a decision, I would highly recommend getting very serious about it. At least getting, you don't have to build by July 1st, but you do want to have somebody in your contract so that you can be grandfathered in should you decide to move forward. So meet with all your groups, review everything that you've been given, and take a look at your other options if you're looking at financing, things like that. I want you to go. Love if you can do it with me. If you have questions and you found something that's got a better mousetrap than me, by all means, go with something that's got the best mousetrap. But if you have questions, I am available.
Red, he has a question about the energy contract, zero out of pocket. Can you explain it in a real simple explanation?
So when it comes to payments, when it comes to PPAs, prepaid PPAs, or energy contracts, all of those, they bring in all the financial for you because they're taking advantage of the tax credits and things like that, the depreciation schedule that you can't. So for that, it's a smart investment. So what they do is they'll discount the cost of the system. So let's say for every dollar that it costs for me to build it, they'll come in one instance, you'll get like a 20% on an energy contract. You'll get, right now they for you guys, they guarantee that they would discount the cost of energy by 20%. You have no out-of-pocket expenses and no liability. Meaning if you wanted to walk away from it, they can't come after you.
So what do you mean by, if you want to walk away on the
Like,
contract?
if you want to use, if like everyone moved out here or whatever, they're not going to affect you guys individually. Liability is on them. And reality really isn't a liability. If you all decided as a unit to no longer use the clean energy generator that you have here and went back to get rid of it because you just like throwing money at the utility company, they'll go, okay. And they flip a switch on the inverter, and instead of it coming into the units, it goes out to the grid, and they charge the utility company for that energy, and then the utility company turns around and charges you more.
Yeah.
So that's what they talk about. So really, that conference is really not for a place like this. It's really for like a business or a single family where say people don't fall on hard times and they can't get rid of their home. We a few years back, we all remember when there were houses that were empty for years. Well, if they had a lease on their property, they got chased after the lease provider. In the case of this guy's going to deny a country mile. It changed the direction of the energy comes. It's simple. So in the case of a PPA, also zero out of pocket. Also discount. You'll hear the term PPA a lot, and a prepaid PPA is a significantly better option. I'm going to be honest with you, if someone pitches you a PPA, pump the brakes. So is it a prepaid PPA or is it a power purchase agreement standard? The power purchase agreement, like the utility company, comes with a rate increase every year. It's more expensive. If you do the prepaid PPA, you bring an investor partner in, whether it's a bank, a PACE provider, or an individual with needs. They come in, they pay for it up front. So instead of you guys paying $1, you might pay 85 or 87 cents. And every little bit helps. So that's the whole point of what we try and do. We try and shave everything down, sharpen the pencil. So at the end of the day, you guys get the best bang of your buck. And we can even show you again. I know we reiterated this a lot, but I've been here a lot of times with associations, and the biggest problem is trying to where do we allocate the money? And we take that out of your hands if you allow us to bring someone in. And basically day one, you got more money than you did the day before. So it's simple. We can make it easy for you. If you want to article, yes, Dan.
I have a question. I mean, I was just talking about the common areas, right? But let's say we decided to have them all the, right? So how do you divide or allocate?
So it's the association, so the association, when it comes to that, no lender is going to, we talked about this earlier before we shut up. That's all right, no, it's okay, it's okay, it's a very good question, it is a question that people should pay more attention to. No lender, is going to touch what's known as dual ownership property. And what that means is, so let's say this was my unit, right? As a resident, I own the space within. Me personally, I have the walls, how to shit and paint, brick, structure itself. That's the problem. Because in order for us to do every single unit, the association first has to come to an agreement of allocating space on a roof. We have a multi-floor roof, it's not the space that is above me because the guys in the first floor don't have it. You on the second floor do, so is there enough space? So let's just say for sake of argument, we have plenty of space. And the association and 100% of the people living here came to the agreement, yes, let's do this. All right, and then you ask us to come in and say, okay, listen, we want batteries in each unit. We want solar for each unit. Can you do that for us? And as a builder, I can figure out how to get it done. Right? But then the question is, how do we pay for all of this? So for me to do this as a builder, I can't do one at a time. It's too small. It's too small for me to come out and do it. And it's also too expensive to do something very, very small because for a guy just to show off equipment, that's like $4,000. And if your system's so small and it only costs $8,000 total, you know, $8,000 system just costs $12,000.
No, I think Brad, I know where the question's going with it.
What you can do is, as an association, if you 100% agree that you want to do upgrades, you have to shut it away from lenders because lenders are not going to give you money because they have to get consent from 100%. And if one person says no, it's it. Now, if you as an association say we will allot space and it fits, if everyone has to, then we can do it. If you can go to a contractor, they can get the permit, you have to pay cash for everything, and then that's it. It can be done, but it's incredibly difficult. I'm just gonna let you know now. We had one community that actually became a commune. What they did was they took all of their meters, they went to master meters,
There you go.
and we built like crazy. We had carports, we had property, because, you know, we start taking into account that, you know, we've got this particular facility, 175 units. They had, average kilowatt hours per now comes up in the desert, was like 9,800 kilowatt hours for what we're amounted to 608 square foot to 39 square foot units. That's a massive amount of energy, put in megawatts. It's almost like a small utility scale bill. So, but it was ridiculous. It took 4.5 years just to get paperwork done, just to get it approved. So that's the likelihood of getting done.
Yeah, I think you hit it right? So to be able to do that, because each unit has its own meters, right? And you get utility bill, each one you guys receive an Edison bill, each one of you. So to be able to do solar for everybody, that's right, consolidate it to a master meter and change each meter to a private meter. And then you have a technology, a software, somebody has to run it to say, unit blah, 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 101, here's the usage, this is how much we're going to charge you. It's really cumbersome because somebody has to do that on a monthly basis. And then you get charged based on what you guys agreed upon as a unit, saying, okay, we're going to charge everybody for 15 cents per kilowatt hour. So somebody has to run a report, the unit 101 use 5,000 kilowatt hour for this month times 15 cents. That will be your bill. That will be your contribution. Instead of paying, let's say you're paying at Edison at 33 cents per kilowatt hour, you might have a contract with the COA for 15 cents per kilowatt hour. But it's really hard to do it. It's very expensive. Each meter, you're gonna have to replace that. That costs a lot of money. to consolidate too.
You can value proposition technically still being there. The impact it will have here, because literally, if you were to do that for a year, you'd be here for 2 years. I mean, this is probably the thing that's going on right now that I am envious of. What we have, and trust me, even if we can't put the price is amazing. The fact that we have dozens of people walking in and out of here all hours because we start like 6 o'clock in the morning, and as long as the sun is up, we're working with it. Now, do we want to get out here fast? Yes. Are you going to have people who are going to come here and tell you that they make it work? I've been the guy who's done this dance. I've gone down the road because I wanted to see what would happen. It took 4.5 years. That's 4.5 years, not get that. Used to have hair. But,
That's a good question, though.
There are energy efficient.
Right.
So that if we, you know, I mean, let's say, somebody has a Tesla that they're plugging in and somebody doesn't, so of course the bill will be different.
Different,
So
correct.
I'm wondering how that's gonna be all sorted out for everybody.
Right.
Or for somebody like me, I'm not in town, so I'm not using much electricity per se, so.
yeah, so well, for you, are you here from a 4-9 p.m.?
And we're not even, we're at 7:30.
So here's what I say, I mean, most expensive gonna be maybe 500. It's from 4 to 9. And,
That's the big difference.
this is down to the local UDF and utilities around there, so you know, more energy is usually between 4 and 9 in the residential market. Yeah, of course, because we don't compose the water.
Yeah.
But it's only about 18% of the energy that's used on the regular business.
Right.
But they found a way to charge us more. So I just sold my house, sold my house down in Oceanside. And I'm, like you guys, very close to water. And the low energy in Oceanside is where I live. Well, it was 38 cents per kilowatt hour. That's like an overnight 2 o'clock in the morning. But between 4 and 9, 57.5 cents a kilowatt. Taking traffic, my house used about 1,400 kilowatt hours a month. So I never got enough for the pay less than 560 to 6,000 a month for electricity. You have solar, whole lot of solar before. We have to use it.
Just a quick one, just so. We pay, in our budget, we have $62 per unit, okay? What would solar impact there? Okay, because this is what, this.
$60, between $60.
Yeah. These guys were paying, yeah, the thing is that we're paying, our electric bill, right, correctly to Edison, but then we also pay our HOA fees. $60 for HOA fees. That's actually a common area.
The bank.
Before I go, he just asked probably the best question. So, I touched on this, but this is the best way to do it. He said, listen, here's my wallet. Every month, $62 comes out of that for the common area. Because it's a line, and that's what we agreed we're all going to pay.
Well, that's actually, we pay it because we're getting charged by Edison, not that.
No, that's what I'm saying, but it's our budget, your average,
That's our budget, yeah. That's what it
so
comes out.
$62 would become probably somewhere around 28 to 30. That's what it equates to.
That's right.
If you pay cash, you probably drop down to about 21.
So the first one is no out of pocket.
And we're talking right now about their contribution to.
Got it, yeah.
We were paying to common areas, each one of us.
Oh, okay. So with this one should lower your contribution to the HOA.
So, realistically, that's not so much talking about it, but do you want to benefit to? Because right now, you're spending about $5,000 a month on electricity. For the common areas. And from what I've seen, from what I've spoken to, you're probably somewhere, if we are going to do this for you, back to the way we do, you're probably going to be for the solar portion, because we haven't talked about roofing. But you're probably going to be somewhere around 24 to 27 bucks a month. So that's about 50 cents of the dollar what you were spending.
Yeah.
So that's $62
Right.
goes down by that much.
Then I have a question for the community. Knowing what you know now, that you can get the system, you can pay cash, or you can choose not to have any money out of pocket and choose just to pay for your electricity at a lower rate. What kind of hurdles do you have about the project? What's concerning for you to say, okay, it makes sense, let's go do it?
That's a good question. You're gonna interview 3 to 5 folks. And you're gonna find someone who says.
Yeah, so that's, well, the reason I asked that question, because I want to know, because they might have a reason that maybe we can help you get through that, right? So what would that be?
I think, I'm not in charge of damages, but I think probably we get other bids and talk to the homeowners, is going to generate more questions that we can bring back to the company at that time.
Yeah, and so everyone knows, we talked to 3 companies. One of them bowed out, said, just go with this. Yeah, well, it's basically you guys and Zero Soul. Okay, now, looking at them side by side, they're very, very close. They're very comparable, you know?
Us and Zero Soul?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, as far as pricing goes, or?
Yes, zero excess, zero.
No, it's a different company. Zero Solar.
And you're.
I have no idea what.
Yeah, so, basically, they're going to come in and address the committee, and now you're addressing the committee.
Right.
So now we have to figure out, okay, what recommendation do we want to give to the board?
Right.
And we were at this stage back in 2019. And I think at that point, Zero Solar actually did address the board. We had, of course, some more questions, and then, of course, the pandemic hit. So everything was, pushed aside. And now we're pretty much starting over.
Yeah, so that's why I created this spreadsheet, and I'm gonna send you the soft copy of it. So basically, the way to use this, the one on top is ours, right? We did we plug in our numbers. It tells you how much our system's gonna cost per building, right? Bottom line, we're at $3.08 per watt. So if you fill up the bottom portion, which is other solar company, and I'm gonna give this to Dan as a soft copy, and then maybe Dan, you can give it to them and they can plug in those numbers.
Everybody
Right.
solar.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me. Yes. That's updated.
You want to be very close attention so you want to make sure the second pass, it's going to change everything.
Suppose we focus on the 6:30.
You want to review your options before July, and pay the provider before July 1st.
But what's that?
You think you want to
look at it.
But why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why don't you do that?
you know,
And then.
whether it's on the board.
You can do that. You can also do
There is
that.
no one in the commercial market. is-
I mean, as an option.
That's because.
It's another option. You can do it in stages.
Most people.
Like do it in stages, do it one building first, see how it goes. What kind of benefits you get. And then
It does fit. Yeah.
Sorry.
Can you rewind back why did we need to make a decision?
So there's legal legislation going through right now. Right, 3.0, that is, if it goes through, the President Land 2.0, if it goes through, all back energy will be gone. All solar providers in the state of California will have to be unionized, which will get rid of every, a company of 15 people can't have a union. And, most of us, we're under 100 people. If we went green, it would destroy us. So imagine what it's going to do to, JL Electric and all these other companies. What the utility company is trying to do is trying to get them to be the solar provider. And then you say, I want solar, they'll say, yeah, we'll get to you in 2028. That's literally what's going on. That's what they're trying to do. So they came with a bunch of different things. They're trying to get rid of, you brought up the tax. They're trying to bring the tax in. They're trying to take away the demand response. So in other words, if you have battery storage, right now, if you enter into a demand response agreement with the utility company, and they need the energy, and they do several times a year, they have to pay you a premium, a significant high number for that energy. Well, what they're trying to get done, and this is for your electric cars, this is for your batteries at your place, they're trying to get it, they're allowed to pull energy from you. Energy that you paid them for, and they're allowed to pull it back and not pay you for it. So 3.0 is a dangerous bit of legislation right now. Now it's failed 3 times, and they've gone from all this horrible stuff, and they shave it a little bit. Each time they come back and shave it a little bit, but we know the court that was trying to get this union, which can never fly. But the problem is, I hate to say this, I actually liked this governor for a while, but his wife is a member of one of the utility companies that's trying to push this through. So it's like, sit with the enemy, so I'm very concerned. So when I say to you, I'm not trying to push you to get under contract with me and maybe your provider. I want you to choose the company you feel most comfortable with. You look at the value proposition, look at your warranties, look at your actual cost. Also look at the technology. Very, very important stuff. And then once you've found the company, then get under paper with them so that you can be grandfathered in as being under paper, ready to go forward before July 1st.
And not only that, the cost of materials right now, and I kid you not, keep on going up because of the tariffs that we're facing as a solar industry.
Because 80% of the materials we all work with are created in China.
I mean, any of them is different.
Thanks for answering the questions.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. All right, so I'll get you the spreadsheet and then you can.
Yeah.